Oh.
Are you dreading your next home repair? Don't. Crew Pros is your one-call solution for everything your home needs. Whether it's heating and air, plumbing, complete roof replacement, whole home generators, and electrical repairs, our professionals get the job done right. Crew Pros is your single source for high-quality home services at affordable prices. For everything your home needs, Crew Pros. Remodel, repair, replace.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said, I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome to another episode of Grizz 901, presented by the good people over at Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. Just had to use them recently. Everything was easy, very easy. There's his team there, Zach's team. Could not have been nicer for all that. But a little bit of news. We just had our first Bleacher Report show, and so it was pretty cool. There was a lot of technical difficulties, so if you're joining us from there, hopefully this runs a lot smoother, even though I literally just completely screwed everything up in the beginning of our show. I just went ahead and went live without doing any of our ad video, so that's on me. But you know what? It's okay. We're getting through the day. We're going to get into enough of draft, and so we're going to go through the NBA draft as well. We had Rafael Barlow, so if you missed that, come back and check out that one after you see this live show. But Rafael was awesome. We have our guy, Ryan Meadows, here. I promise you, he is one of the best. He's a guy I actually trust, and he'll probably give you some betting advice along the way. We usually cash pretty good. That and the NFL draft, yeah, we cash on that. But we got to bring in our other guy, my number two. What up? What up? What up?
What up, big dog? Live. I'm number two on live stream number two of the day. Let's go. Need a Red Bull or something.
Hey, man, that thing will give you some wings. Yep. So we're going to get into a lot of the draft stuff. And so me and Nate were able to get on Bleacher Report, and we're talking through all trades. It was a whirlwind from starting 25 minutes late to going through this stuff. And honestly, it was just kind of all over the place. We hear that the show ended before we actually ended. Like, we kept going on and then ended the show. And then somehow they said it ended early. But enough of the typical, the technical difficulties. Easy for you to say. Who is the third man? You like how I just left your screen black and just kind of the mystery man? Because you know what? Honestly, that's fitting though, Ryan, because in the past it was no picture or video at all. And now you have the full video, man. What's up?
Doing all right. Yeah, it was a throwback in that it brought back flashbacks of like, oh, I'm sitting in a parking lot at 9 o'clock at night in the pitch black, trying not to get arrested.
I swear he's in there. Just look closer. All right. Well, Ryan's here. We're not gonna beat around the bush too much. We've honestly had a busy day, but you're here. Can't thank you enough. Obviously, you used to be here all the time. And then now it's too difficult to get you on a normal time. So it is what it is. But if anybody doesn't know Ryan, he was doing this. Well, actually, I joined Free Basketball, who's going on. So make sure y'all check out Free Basketball, still in the Grizz 901 Network, part of Bluff City Media. Go check that out. And then he kind of helped me start this in a sense. And it's kind of blossomed from there. And so it's been really cool. But Ryan is one of the best draft minds in a sense because he can kind of see, a little bit of potential, but no, he's also a high school basketball coach. So that probably helps a little bit. But no, a very good draft mind. So you ready to get started?
I am. I was going to say a joke. Is that okay?
Oh, God. Yeah, let's do the joke.
I was gonna when I got introduced, I was gonna say I'm the Zaire Williams of this podcast. I'm completely out of the rotation. That was gonna be my joke.
It's actually very good. I like that one.
I know how he feels. I'm with you, Zaire. Right here.
Oh,
Yikes.
All right, gonna go, people. Get used to it.
Moving on.
Yep. So we traded Zaire every chance we could today. He was the main guy. Him and Jake Laravia, Jake from Wake, dude. Those two were getting traded every single
year of consolidation, baby. It's got to happen.
Yeah. So it's definitely happening. But we're gonna get into targets to kind of look up to, where we can move up to. So guys that possibly the Grizzlies, it makes sense for them to move up and grab. Players that possibly could fall. If you have any of those, we're gonna hit on those quickly. And then the pick 25, there's guys that are sitting there that you like the most. And then your favorite segment, and I know probably going to be mine, is the diamonds in the rough. And we're gonna have, I don't know if you heard last week, I tried to give Nate's, but Nate's on this week, so he's gonna ask about his guy. Honestly, Rafael Barlow barely knew who he was, and I don't even think he's actually in the draft. I don't even know. Nate, why don't you do some Googling? I don't think
he declared for the draft. I made sure. Yes, because I know how obscure he is. So I made sure he declared for the draft.
He honestly had no idea he was in the draft. All right, let's go ahead and get to moving up. Who are we moving up for, Ryan?
So, of course, with draft cycle season, there's a lot of intel, right? Everybody's falling, everybody's rising. If you're the Grizzlies to move up, there is 3 guys that I would go. And there's 3 guys that are my personal favorites. One I flipped on. At first, I was like, nah, this isn't going to happen. And then recently, watching him back again, watching some games back, I love YouTube. I'm back in on him. So I'm going to give that first one first because he was at the beginning of the season, he had a really strong start and was basically a top 10 guy. And as the season went on, he had some injuries towards the end. He started to fall. Well, all we've seen is him continue to fall down mocks. Now, recently I've seen some at like 13 to 15 range, but I've seen some where it's 17 to 20. And this is a guy I would move up for. And first one is Keontae George from Baylor. You want to talk about pure score, catch and shoot guy, or could be, but just like a one-on-one guy who could shoot threes. And I like guys that shoot threes on volume. Like not a guy who, he shot 40% from 3. He shot 2.5 a game. Like Keontae George shot, I think, right at 7 threes a game and shot about 34%. So he's not lighting it up, but you're talking about the Big 12, which is arguably the most difficult conference in America. And you've probably heard this before if you're a draft person, but freshmen don't play in the Big 12 or at least contribute. And he was not only a starter for Baylor, he was their best player, averaged 15 points per game, was the freshman of the year in the conference, made the all Big 12 team. Like, he got all of the honors. And that's just kind of rare for a freshman to do in the Big 12. And so people kind of lost love for him where he was a shoe-in to be, lottery pick or 12 higher. And now he's starting to slide. So if he slid out of the lottery, was 15, 16, I'm going to go get him because of what I think he can give to the Grizzlies.
All right. Well, looking at this, I don't know if anybody can see this. Can y'all guys actually see this pretty well? Okay, we're looking at the NBA big board, and so I wanted to kind of share that with y'all, and I guess it could give us a little bit of an insight on that. So is everything running smoothly on this? Everybody see this? Okay.
Gotcha, big dog.
Yep. So I want everybody to see that, that might give them things they can look at. I know it's very small on our end, but on everybody's screen, it might be a little bit bigger, but this might be something to look at. So Keontae George, I think can be a really good player. Obviously the microwave score we all like in a sense. And so I thought that'd be something interesting to look at, but he would be a guy to move up for, but like in the latest mocks, like you're having to get up in possibly the top 10, you think?
I don't think he'll go top 10. The way that he's been trending, he started out the year in the top 10 and has kept going down spot after spot for the past 2 months. And he didn't have a super strong, end of the season. But he had a lingering injury and he just wasn't great. I mean, you saw it on that thing. He's turnover prone right now. I think it was 1-to-1 turnover assist ratio. It's not a great decision maker with the ball, but there's potential there. And it's just the off-ball scoring, right? Because he was kind of a lead ball handler for Baylor, and he's not going to be asked to do that with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a project, yeah. But the scoring instincts, he's a guy that if he falls, that's someone that I'm willing to package together to go get based on the talent, the scoring talent.
Okay. I like it. All right. Anybody else you got?
My personal favorite player in the draft who has now moved the opposite way, moving up, which made me really, really sad. And I recorded with Chip Williams, who I know you're going to have on here soon, but I told him it was my favorite guy and still is, and it's Jalen Hood-Schifino. Now, this is a guy, this is a dream now. He's a dream now because he's definitely in the lottery, where before he was like maybe the Hawks at 16, 17, whatever that is. I think the Hawks are 15. He could be 20 to the Nets. Now there's some people saying that this guy could go top 10.
Wow.
And he's basically the same size as Keontae George. I think they're both listed at 6'4", but Jalen Hood-Schifino has a 6'10" wingspan, I believe, and was the point guard and did everything for that Indiana team, which I didn't love the team in general. To me, it was basically two players and a bunch of spot up guys like Trace Jackson Davis and him, but I really liked him for his half court manipulation. He's the opposite end spectrum of the volumes with threes. He didn't take a lot of them. He's more of a mid-range guy, but if I don't know if you talked about Tyus at all, was working. I didn't get to see it, but in all of those trades, this is a guy that could replace Tyus and do kind of the same things, except he's bigger. And I like the potential of him more, and especially defensively. I think he's going to give a lot more to the Grizzlies defensively.
Yeah, like I like him, but is he just a guy that I don't know, like the catch and shoot obviously is what I was looking at as well, but like is he like a good enough defender? Because I don't know if I've seen that part, and also he kind of just gets anytime I've watched Indiana, I haven't done a lot of research on him, but I haven't seen he just kind of disappears sometimes. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of what I've seen in the games that I've watched in the past.
I think it's a fair point. Now he is a freshman. That's the kind of give a lot of these guys, like I give Keontae a little bit of a break for being a freshman in Big 12. I give Jalen Hood-Schifino a break for being in the Big 10, right? And that's kind of the players that Grizzlies have liked in the past, right? Big 12 guys, Big 10 guys, big power conference dudes who maybe played roles or were solid, or the potential of what they could be. And if you are looking at Tyus being gone in 2 years, whether it's trade or letting him walk, whatever it is, I think this is a guy that's going to fill that need. I don't really see him as like he could be a solid starter. Like I think someone that would be interested in him would be the Pelicans. Like I really don't think he'll fall farther than 14 to them because he fits perfectly with what they need right now. He's not going to start right away. Hardly any rookies are, but he is a guy who can play a specific role. And that's kind of control your second unit at first with the ability to rise up to be a starter. But the biggest thing for him is going to be off-ball stuff because Indiana, he was predominantly the guy with the ball, and he was kind of tasked with doing everything for that team. So there's some stuff off ball that we didn't get a whole lot from him, but I mean, that's kind of stuff that you can learn in the NBA, right? Like if you're a guy that can just flat out play, like, you're going to pick that up. And I think with these two guys so far, I think they're just guys who can flat out play. And those are guys I'm looking for if we're keeping the pick or if we're being aggressive and moving up.
No, I like it. Anybody else you have to move up for, or you want to move on to somebody else?
The last move up target, I would say, is another guard, which is Cason Wallace. Now, we don't have to spend a lot of time with him, but he's another guy who is a projectable good defender, really long wingspan, and it's the old school Kentucky bump, right? They look like they suck at Kentucky, and they have no chance of being a meaningful guy in the NBA. And then they get to the NBA with the spacing and in a pro offense, and then they're awesome. A la Devin Booker and basically everyone else, like Tyrese Maxey. Now, he's not those kind of players. I don't want to compare that at all. But he started off ball at the beginning of the year and shot pretty good. I think like 40% plus on those catch and shoot shots, which is what you're looking for. And then he had to go to point guard after their Kentucky's point guard Wheeler, I believe, got injured and did fine with that. You can tell he wasn't super comfortable with it. But I think the thing that hurt him a little bit is what he measured at with the combine. I mean, he's 6'2", and you would like to see him for that size to be 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". So it's not like he's short. Like, certainly he has more than the ability and the size to play at the guard spot. But with his size, it really is like, who is he going to guard and what position he's going to play outside of 1 and 2. So that would be the only concern for the Grizzlies, but I like him a lot, and he's going to get that 50% Kentucky bump for me. So it would not surprise me if he goes in the lottery. But any of these three guys, if they fall out of the lottery for whatever reason, I'm doing what I can to get to 17 or 18 if you can. And get one of these three guys, because it is that open of a draft where you have no idea what's going on past 5. Like, you have an idea, but somebody could rise, somebody could fall.
Right. No, I agree. I like them all. Keontae George. I'm not even going to try to say the other guy's name. And then Cason Wallace. Who's the second guy? Jalen
Hood Shafino.
Yeah, that guy.
That wasn't that hard, buddy.
Yeah, whatever. JHS. I'm not moving up super high to go get Cason Wallace or even JHS. Keontae George, I'd move up a little bit, but I'm not moving up that far to go get them just because it's not a need position. You have Ja. He's planning on being here the rest of his career. Obviously, that things could change. I'm saying for the next 5 years, we'll say. I'm not looking at drafting them if I have to give up a ton to go get them. But you're talking about, under less than 10 spots. Yes, we can have a conversation. But any more than that, there's no way. So I'm fine with that. I like that. All right. Anybody that you think could fall? Any guys that you like that possibly could fall a little bit that makes it? I know you just said that you're moving up to go get them, but you're talking about guys that probably have to fall back in your range to make it worthwhile to go get. These still are guys that could fall possibly to 25, possibly to one of those Brooklyn picks, 21, 22, where you might be able to switch out with them, do some shenanigans with them possibly, but you're just moving up a few spots. But anybody you're looking at that could fall, it makes it worth your while.
I have two guys that if they fell, which I think they will, I wouldn't really go up to get, but if they fell to me at 25, I would be fine. And the first guy is Jett Howard. I'm not a huge Jett Howard fan, but the 6'7", 6'8", knockdown three-point shooting potential is good enough at 25 where if he fell to me, and I think he's going to fall in the 20s, it's worth it, right? Just for that possible, because at this part of the draft, you're not finding Scoot Henderson usually, right? You're trying to find a guy who has a particular skill that could help you on your team. And Jett Howard has a particular skill that could help this team with spacing the floor and his catch and shoot, and also being 6'7", 6'8". The problem I have with him is not a great defender, which no freshman is, but he also doesn't look to be very athletic. like not a great athlete. So defensively, if you're an athlete and you're a bad defensive player, I feel like you can kind of get over that a little bit. Being a bad defender and a non-athlete, it can be tough, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to have a pretty high motor if you're not going to have either of the first two. And that Michigan team was just weird. So it's hard to evaluate him, but he does get a little bit of a bump from me for being a coach's son, right? Like a guy who played in the NBA with his dad. And usually those guys kind of know the deal coming in and have a professional mindset. So I think he has a very particular skill in his catch and shoot, and he's going to hone in on that. I wouldn't expect any creation or anything outside of that. He's just going to do one thing, and one thing hopefully extremely well if he fell to 25, and that's shoot threes. But the other guy is Nick Smith Jr. I think Nick Smith Jr. could fall. I wouldn't go up to get him. This is the one where if he fell to 25 and we took him, I'm okay with it. If we moved up 6 spots to go get Nick Smith Jr., I wouldn't be happy about it. But he didn't. He had an up and down season in Arkansas. Started off strong, then got injured, and then came back. But if you watched any of those games late with him, he was completely lost on defense. And you have to have at least some sort of instinct about that. And I think it's weird and kind of telling that his teammate, Anthony Black, who coming into the season, it was vice versa. Nick Smith was a top 10 pick or a lottery pick. Anthony Black wasn't really on anybody's boards. Anthony Black has kind of the connective tissue on offense and is a really good on-ball defender, and just creates a lot of things like Lonzo Ball did, right? And now they're flipped. Anthony Black is seen as a top 10 pick. Nick Smith Jr., who is mostly a scorer, turned out to not be a great defender so far, was injured in his first year. Now he's maybe at the end of the lottery, and I certainly could see him falling into the 20s. I wouldn't go get him. If he fell to me at 25, I think I'd be okay with the risk.
Is he somebody that you could see playing next to Ja? Like, that's the issue with any of these point guards. I know he's a combo guard, whatever, but any of these guys that are smaller, they have to be able to, do something other than just be a guy who goes and, it carries the ball, because obviously Ja can play off ball, but his best is on ball. So we don't want to get back into what we're in right now, where, when Tyus is out there, he's the guy who's the primary ball handler. And then, like, if you get him an open shot, he can knock down a shot. Like, we need a little bit more than that if he's going to be a combo guard. So anything you see, could they play together on the court at the same time?
Probably not. But I think you like Nick Smith Jr. If you like Nick Smith Jr., I think you're thinking he's my 7th or 8th guy, and it's it's scoring creation, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has a real heavy, like, Brandon Boston Jr. feel to me. You remember from a couple years ago at Kentucky?
Yep.
I believe he's still on the Clippers, but like, he was kind of a upside swing who was, he can self-create. And he still hasn't really shown anything for the Clippers, but it's hard to break into that rotation. But I think that's the idea of Nick Smith Jr. And that's why I think he's kind of falling and will continue to fall.
Okay. Anybody else that you could see falling besides maybe your kid in the background going into the kitchen or something?
No, should be in bed. No. Should fall back asleep.
Yeah, that's what I should have said. Fall back asleep. That was bad. I was going to say, slip in the kitchen, whatever.
And I'm not going to lie, for a guy that you said you might like at pick 25, using Brandon Boston as a comp is not super helpful.
I hate
but
at 25, you just get the idea of what he could be, right? Because this is a guy who was preseason top 10, who throughout the year, like I said, started great, had the injury in the middle, and then kind of was slow out of the gate at the end. It's just 25. He's a combo guy, fell to you, the creation.
Yeah.
It makes sense to go for someone like that if he's going to be on your bench. He's not going to be a long-term starter. I don't see that. But that was the idea of Brandon Boston Jr., right? And we just haven't seen that with the Clippers. But that's kind of the idea of Nick Smith Jr. So I don't want it to be apples to apples, but it's like the same kind of idea per se.
Yeah. Anything else you got on guys that you think could fall before we get into our maybe potential at pick 25?
I don't have anyone specific, but I do think it's very fluid. You have heard that through 11 through 30. It's a wing-heavy draft. You've heard that a lot. And so it could surprise people who falls, who moves up. But I don't have one specific that if they fell to 25, I'd be like, all right, that works. I'll take him. We can go to bed.
All right. Well, before we get there, let's talk about our presenting sponsor, and that is Zach Jaworski State Farm. If you have any insurance needs, if it is homeowners, if it is life insurance, if it is renters insurance, whatever it might be, Zach and his team I promise you, they will take care of you and make sure that any issues you have, insurance related, maybe other issues, I don't know, but insurance related issues, give them a call at 901-794-3691. Zach and his team have offices in East Memphis as well as Collierville. But give them a call and they will give you a quote. Just let them know the Grizz 901 team sent you. And also our Discord. Did you call them? Did you take care of them?
Yeah. I needed business insurance again and called up there. Didn't talk to Zach. But I think I'm the second person
I like
from the show to be sponsored. Yeah.
Oh, see, yeah. No. Just talked to him recently. Obviously, I had an issue. My wife lost her wedding ring. And so he took care of me. And so his team, I actually didn't talk to him right away, which is kind of cool. I wanted to go through the same process everybody else does. And so I talked to a lot of his people. Everybody was super nice. But if you have any issues, insurance needs, give them a call. You might need a new phone case from what I'm looking at, Nate. But besides that, honestly, this isn't our normal show. If you're tuning in for the first time, this isn't our normal type show. We usually aren't this heavy in stats and data and everything. We usually like to have a good time, especially with Ryan. But we have to be more kind of to the point at this point within the draft. And so if we don't keep going fast, then we're not going to be able to have all the information we want out of Ryan. So this should be the more fun part because these are the guys that should be at pick 25. So maybe we have more questions for those. And then the diamond in the rough, people I probably have never heard of. And so that's what I'm here to look for. So, all right, let's go ahead and go into pick 25 guys that you think will fall, be at 25 on draft night. If you had to guess, who is there and who are you taking?
First one is G.G. Jackson.
Okay.
I am 100% taking the risk on G.G. Jackson if they stay at 25. I don't know what they're going to do. I know everybody's split, trade out of it, get out of the draft pick game altogether, move up. But if they sit at 25 and GG falls to me, which I think he will, I'm rolling the dice. He's 18 years old, showed a lot of creation ability, was on a terrible team at South Carolina. This is an upside swing. He's not going to probably give you anything for, we'll say 2 years, 2 or 3 years. But by then, you're talking about the new CBA. You're talking about having to be more money conscious. And so I think teams are starting to think about that now with projects. I mean, the Nuggets already made a trade already to, I believe, move into the first round, or it was next year. I can't remember whichever it was, but they made a trade to be in the draft to pick up another pick that they could kind of add to the end of the rotation to develop. And by this time, when GG pops, if he pops in a couple years with the new CBA rules, you just re-signed Desmond Bane, you've got 3 guys under big money. This is a guy that could propel you to another level if he hits. So it's a roll of the dice, but it's one that I am very willing to make.
So I like this in maybe 2 years. And I know that what you're talking about is that he should be a contributing player in 2 years, right? But the simple fact that in 2 years, like, that's cool. But man, that it worries me because I don't know what they're going to do in the offseason. And I know he's 18. I know there's so much upside. Rafael Barlow, I believe, liked him as well. It just worries me because we have a need now. Now, don't get me wrong. If they go for pick 25 and say, hey, we're going after potential, that's what we want. We want the high upside because in 2 years, when we have all these high contracts, we have a guy who's ready to play and ready to contribute. He's in 20. He's into his man body, as I call it. And we have everybody under, big contracts, and we've added some vets, through free agency. Then yes, I like that. I just don't know if that's the direction they're going. And because of that, that worries me. That's the only part that worries me is if they continue the same route that they've been going and you have all these young players, you're adding in somebody who has potential, but he's so much younger than everybody else. Are we going down the same road for the next 2? Are we literally going down an endless road with potential picks?
At his talent ability, I don't care.
Okay.
Like,
That's
honestly,
fair.
like, if he stays in his class, he's in the 2024 draft, and he's probably a top 10 pick. And he might even be a top 5.
Okay.
And so I'm going to take a guy who was a top 5 or projected, could be wrong, right? A guy that's projected top 5 for next year in his original class, and I can get him at 25. You bet. And so, with the draft stuff, you're obviously with draft, you're more for development and the future, right? And I'm definitely about that. And so I do kind of battle with, like, I get the sense that you have needs right now. I'm fine with getting stuff that is for right now. I totally am. But do I realistically think the Grizzlies are within a title window next year? No, I don't.
Okay.
Could they be in 2 or 3 years if you had someone like G.G. Jackson and it's ready to go? There's your small forward that you've always been looking for, overqualified. You could be much better when the guys are kind of age, 26, 27. Now, I know he'll still be young. He'll be 21. But I would be much more interested in that than someone who I feel like I can plug and play in a 9-man rotation, potentially, right now, who can play 9th, or it's like a 9th or 10th option.
What?
Daniel, I think my cup's empty. Ryan has all the haterade.
Well, I was just thinking after he said it, I was just going to do this. Ryan, where'd you go? See ya.
He's drowning in haterade.
I'm just like at home when you turn my screen black.
The Grizzlies can't be in a championship window.
My God. All right, we're getting canceled quickly.
Why? Are you afraid to say that kind of stuff? I'm not.
Well,
no, I'm not afraid to say it. I don't believe it. I think they're in a championship window for sure, especially in the offseason.
You think they're?
I would go toe to toe with you. I think they have the ability to. Yeah. Hey, listen, let's pin this.
Everybody has the ability to.
Let's pin this for let's say August. Maybe when everything's dead, let's come back to this. Deal? We'll come on and we'll talk about it. We'll break.
What I was going to say was relevant to the conversation at hand, which is even if the Grizzlies aren't in a championship window, which I think they can be, but I am a big believer in building winning habits. And if you want to win a championship in 2 years, you build to win now. And that gives you the best opportunity to set yourself up to take lumps without completely selling out your future, right? So taking a guy like G.G. Jackson at 25 allows you to be able to prepare for the future, like you're saying, have that small forward that you need that can push you over the top, but you need to build now to win, which I think the Grizzlies can do that more via free agency, trade. I think there's a lot of good small pickups that can, as a sum of their parts, move the needle for the Grizz in that. But with that being said, is there anyone in this draft, in your opinion, that can be a help now piece, win now piece for Memphis, that they can step in and fill a need they have now, whether it's in the wing role, which I think needs to be a vet, or someone that's a high skilled player already in the league, or more so as a big or something?
I think someone like Chris Murray would be interesting for the Grizzlies. I mean, obviously he's going to get a bump from his brother Keegan and how good he was with the Kings. Now, he's not near as good as Keegan, but he does have a particular skill, right? Like he's tall and he can shoot threes. He's kind of like Jet Howard, but I think he's a little more mobile and athletic. If you're looking for something that can contribute like that, I think those are players that would be of interest, right? Guys that can fit a specific thing, and that's stretching the floor and shooting. So if that's the kind of player you want to go with, that's fine. I think you can do both, to add the pieces and have a guy in the stable, so to speak, ready to go when the book gets tight, right? Like the money gets tight. And so that's why I'm a draft guy. That's just what I'm going to lead to. And so I'm not saying I'm right. I'm probably wrong, but I'm a guy who all of these championship teams or teams that make deep runs, they have a guy like this that hit for them. And if I'm rolling the dice, I'm going to roll the dice on this guy who potentially could hit for me. And if he hits, then you're talking about a window that's instead of 1 to 2 years with a bunch of veterans that you signed that are going to kind of move on after those 2 years, you got him for 8. And so that's the kind of view that I have with Gigi. But I do agree. There is a thing that they need right now, and you're going to get that from veteran guys if you're going to push late into the playoffs. I'm just not a big believer in selling this pick just to do that, to try to fill that out and push to win the next year or two, when I have a talent like that could fall to me.
If you say a particular set of skills one more time, I swear.
I swear. Liam Neeson's going to sue us on copyright, maybe trademark.
We will be canceled. Liam Neeson will come here and he will find you. But whatever.
I was trying so hard to stay on the rails and not let my ADD brain go straight to Qui-Gon Jinn / the guy who trained Batman. I can't remember his name right now. I'm pretty tired, but I'm thinking the same thing.
Ra's al Ghul? Yeah.
Thank you, Ra's al Ghul. Thank you.
Wow. All right, look at this nerd knowledge. All this nerdness going on. All right, real quick, Chris has a question here. We have not hit on this, but this is a question I think he hit on his show with Isaac this past week. So check out No Bluffing Podcast. It was very good. Isaac and Chris did a very good job. Thankfully, Luke wasn't on there, so it was even better show. Shout out, Luke. I'm kidding. Do you think that this year's draft is better than last year's draft?
I haven't looked at last year's draft in a while, but I would say that it's better this year. Just off the top of my head. Now, the top end talent, I think, is better. But I haven't looked through the whole list in a while. So I couldn't tell you really who was, outside of the top 10. But
so you're saying that
I think
you
there's
would
a lot of talent in this one.
As Chris hit on, I believe it was during the podcast, he was saying that he would have liked if they would have went and moved back into the first round in this year's draft compared to last year's draft, because he felt like there's a lot of guys there that have the higher ceiling than in this year's or in the previous year's draft when we went and got David Roddy after we got Jake LaRavia. And so, that's what he was referring to. And I believe that there's a difference. And I don't know how you see this draft. I see that there's very top heavy, with Miller, Scoot, and Wemby. And after that, you have some very good talent. And then it kind of molds into projects, like very good potential, very raw. And then I think around the 18 to 20 mark, you start getting into some guys that are very, very good, that have some strikes on them for whatever reason, whether it's injury, whether it's age, whatever, but they have some potential that is just alarming. It just jumps off the page. And that's where kind of, the Grizzlies are in that 18 to, 25 range. I think they can get one of those guys whether they move a little bit or not. And so I think that's what Chris was referring to, but also, us because I believe that the talent, I think, would be there. And you're going to get a guy, if you stay in that range, you're going to get a guy that can contribute probably quicker than somebody in the 14 to 12 range at that area, because most of the time it's going off of all of potential for the most part.
All right. Yeah, I do want to say if Scoot Henderson is in, can I say that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
If Scoot Henderson is in last year's draft, he's the number 1 pick. Like, that's who the Magic are going to take.
For sure. I thought you were going to say if Scoot Henderson dropped to 25, I wouldn't take him.
No, Scoot is number 1 in last year's draft. Like, the top end talent,
for sure,
I like a lot more in this top 3 than last year's.
I like it. All right, let's go diamond in the rough. We got about 5 or so minutes that we want to hit on these, but I know these are your favorites. I am not going to share the screen anymore because I don't believe they're going to be there. So I'm going to turn off that mode. So what do you got, Ryan, and diamond in the rough?
How many do you want?
We have 5 minutes. Give me 3 because I have questions.
Dang it. Too. All right. Number 1, Tristan Vukcevic.
God dog it. Who?
Yeah. No, this is a guy who was relatively unknown and then had like an amazing 5 minutes at the combine where he dropped like 16 points and immediately stopped playing. Right?
I know
he didn't
exactly
play in game 2.
He didn't play another.
Didn't play the next day.
Wow.
I think he quit after that 5 or 6, or no, I think he played some in the second half, but he played like 10 to 12 minutes, had like 20 something points, and was just like bombing threes and creating shots. And
said, it's not getting better than that.
Over, the agent was like, nope. Agent was like, shut it down. So I think he's still probably going to be a second round guy, but he's probably not really a diamond in the rough, but really skilled offensive player at 7 feet tall or 6'11", whatever he is. The knock on him is not athletic and can't play defense. Does that sound familiar to anybody from the finals? Not saying he's that kind of player, but he has a real offensive skill set that would be super intriguing. Like, I think he has a better skill set than Santi Aldama does. So I would be really interested in him as kind of like a high risk, high reward. A second guy, since I have to go 3, I'm going to go Jalen Slauson, who probably is a little more on the radar for Grizzlies fans. Forward out of Furman, who, if you remember them from the tournament, they came back and hit that buzzer beater against Virginia. And he's kind of like a stretch 5. He's not going to be a wing. Like, he's going to be like a small ball 5. And so if you watch the combine, all he really did in the combine was facilitate and defend. And he guarded like 4 different types of players and held up in the combine. So you see his versatility defensively. Long arms, 6'7", I think, 6'6", 6'7". Shoots a lot of trail threes, does a little creation. But I watched Furman a couple times during the year because that's just who I am. And he's got that competitive fire. Like, he's a guy who will talk trash, and he does not care. And he also fouls a lot. So we're familiar with that. But a super competitive guy. And you like that for the Grizzlies, a connective piece who can hit an open 3-point shot, do a little creation, and play multiple positions defensively. So he's a second kind of diamond, quote unquote, in the rough, but I think he has a real shot at being drafted by the Grizzlies. If he's not drafted, I think he'll definitely be on their summer league team. And then last one, this is a real deep cut. Hunter Tyson, forward out of Virginia, I believe. And the only reason you are hearing about him is because what he did at the G League Combine, not the NBA Combine. He did really well at the G League Combine, which I watched. Hitting threes, rebounding, playing defense was awesome. and got an invite to the combine where he still did fine. He shot threes, played defense, rebounded, was competitive. He's not going to get drafted, I don't think, but he is a worthwhile two-way guy or a G League guy. Now, I think last time on ESPN's best available board, he had risen all the way to 50, but it's a guy that I'm interested in. Shot like 40% from three at Virginia, rebound like 8 or 9 rebounds a game as a forward.
We're not talking about Hunter Tyson anymore.
We're not? Did he go back? Did he move somewhere
No,
else?
I'm asking a question. Are you still talking about Hunter Tyson?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He's at Clemson. That's why I was confused.
Clemson. Sorry, not Virginia.
I'm sorry. No, you're good. I just want to make sure I wasn't about to. So on NBADraft.net, listen, I just want to make sure I'm not the idiot here. NBADraft.net has Memphis taking Hunter Tyson at pick 56. And so that's why I was curious. I was looking through their mock draft. And so when you were saying that, I was looking for the names right before the double forfeit picks.
Yeah, that sucks to be kind of associated with NBADraft.net. So I don't feel too great about that. So maybe scratch Hunter Tyson. No, just kidding. But he's a guy that is, a John Conchar type player, except taller and can actually shoot.
Hey, we like to get jitty with it.
Sorry.
I got a question. I got some questions actually. Maybe 30 seconds on each guy. And Nate, if you have any that you will let listen, we'll let Nate go first because you might have to go back to that one, like maybe even after the show and figure out who in the world he's even talking about. Nate, who is your guy that you want to ask a question about?
I don't want to save the best for last this year, I see. So I do not have my David Roddy of the year. I don't have that yet. I haven't done enough research, so I'm not as confident in this one. But I always have one guy that I see play basically 2 games and I fall in love with, and they always play for West Virginia. One year it was Miles McBride. I love Miles McBride. I still think Miles McBride, who played for not Tom Thibodeau, would be a rotation NBA player. I stand by it. This year, it is Kedrian Johnson, who is so obscure, deep cut, but I also watched him get 14 points in like 4 minutes all on his own to carry his team and then not touch the ball again for like 12 minutes and they lost by 2. So since then, I was like, this guy has got to be something. Do you know who he is?
I know him in name. I couldn't tell you anything about him.
Okay. I like it.
Well,
I thought you're going to mention the shooter for West Virginia. I can't remember his name either. But they got a little 6'2" shooter. That's like their main guy. I thought maybe you were going to mention him.
All right, so let's go less than 30 seconds so we're not here forever. Let's go like 20 seconds, maybe 15, about these guys, whether you like them or not. Is there anything that pops to you, whatever, just real quick. Bryce Sensabaugh out of who is it, Ohio State.
I like him. The question is defense. He can't play defense yet, but the size and the creation ability is really enticing. So I would take him at 25 as he's there. I'm fine with that.
2 guys I think you like. Leonard Miller.
Yeah, I like Leonard. I was on him last year before he pulled out, and then I watched him play, and I watched him play as the under 20 Olympic. I can't remember, but he was on the Canadian team, I think, and he was awful. And I was like, okay, get this guy back in something. Grew a lot. I still have questions about, but he's grown and he got better. So
I like it. Terquavion Smith.
I've lost love in Terquavion, and it hurts me because I was all over Terquavion last year, and I thought he was going to be a really good creation guy and like deep shooter last year. And I think this is like his second or third time going back, and it's only hurt himself because he just hasn't improved. But he's the deep catch and shoot threat. That's his idea. And in the combine, he tried to show on-ball stuff, and it was a disaster.
The other name of this podcast, besides your name on it, I'm going to have "I've Lost Love," enter Quavion. That's amazing. That sounds like sounds like a title somewhere. All right, so this guy is my diamond in the rough. The guy who I think that the Grizzlies could even go get at 25. I don't know if they'd move back into the second round because he could fall the second round. But I've seen him in the first round in some mocks, and he is my favorite guy so far that I've seen. But it's Julian Strother.
I like Julian a lot. The problem mostly with him is defense, right? But he does have he can shoot, and that's just a real skill that the Grizzlies need. So I would understand if he get it. I would not use a first round pick on him because I think he's going to be there in the second. But I could see the Grizzlies packaging both to move up to the early second to get him if they really like him.
Yeah.
But the question is defense. But all those Gonzaga guys, they just know how to play. And he's been there a while. And he's used to playing a role. So I'd get it, and I would be fine, and I would like the pick.
The Grizzlies had the 56th pick, which is because the other two forfeit picks, there's 2 picks after them, and then that's the end of the draft. So one of the bottom 3 picks. If for some reason they went with another guy out of Gonzaga, would you like it or hate it?
I would hate it. And I assume you're talking about Drew Timme.
Yeah, is Drew Timme still going to stay in the draft?
I hope so. Where else is he going to go?
I thought he had another year.
But does he? Oh, good Lord. Go back and get that NIL, buddy, because it's not happening here. It's not.
The funny thing is that's literally what Raphael said is, using one of those last picks and going to get a guy like Drew Timme, who he thinks is very underrated and could be really good in the NBA if you kind of change the way he plays a little bit and just, goes the old school way in a team like the Grizzlies, where you can kind of go like the junior role, right? But I just don't see that translating in a sense with Drew Timme. So I don't know. We'll see. But I thought it was funny that when he said that, I wanted to bring up him for you because I know that you're like, nah, he's not good. All right. Nate, you got anything before we get out of here?
Nope. I had my deep cut. That's all I have to contribute.
All right. Ryan, do you have anything else? This has been awesome as always. Anything else you have for the show?
No, I can throw out multiple more names, but I'll let it go.
Just write those in like a diary somewhere, and we won't look at them. All right. So next week we have Chip Williams coming on. It's going to be a lot of the same, but it will be draft week. And so next week's going to be more draft week. We might not go down the same path as we went down with Raphael and Ryan here because I think we've kind of got an idea on who I want to go and just ask some questions to Chip more and kind of have it a different style because I think this, in a sense, has been a learning for us, but also our fans in general. Is just learning about the guys. And so allowing you just to kind of have free range on what do you want to do. And then, with you and Raphael giving us your guys, y'all really didn't overlap on a ton. You did on some, but not on a ton. And so that allowed us to get a good mix. And so hopefully next week we'll have a chance to ask, just kind of pick his brain a little bit for Chip. So anything on free basketball that you got, Ryan?
No, I don't know if, I don't know how Chip is going to be with you, but me and Chip, 2 nerds getting together, almost 2 hours. So strap in for next week for everybody. No, Chip was awesome, and he's much more knowledgeable than me. So everybody should come back next week because it's a real treat to listen to him. And he's more positive than I am. So you don't have to worry about that next week. He's much, much nicer and much more optimistic.
Bro, I got on the set that one day where I had to interview him in person, and this big goober walks up and sits next to me, and I'm literally taken back a little. I'm just like, what is going on? Because he's nerding out about the draft. He looks just like you. You're both Shreks. like just walking up these huge humans. And I'm like, what is happening? You both look the same. You talk the same. You're nerding out by the same stuff. Like I literally I was in Twilight Zone when I met him, because literally both of you are big guys. Like you're tall, big, like, yeah, I'm not really trying to mess with you too much. That big of a human. And so I'm trying to, I just thought it was very funny to see both of y'all, now both of you in person. It was, man, I know you even said the same thing because you saw him, but I don't think you met him in person, but you did see him. But anyway, when does that come out? When does that episode come out?
That came out a couple of weeks ago with me and Chip.
Oh, it did?
So that was out before the finals, I think. I said I'd have to have him back because we were going to talk specifically Grizzlies stuff. Okay. And I promised I would keep it under 45 minutes for him, but you just never know when you get us into a room, into a chat. So no,
like he wanted to go for a while as well when I had him on as well, that one time. So we had to kind of shut it down quickly. All right, but that's all we have. I'm going to shut you down quickly. That's all we have this week. We're going to have another, obviously a fun episode. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Ryan, RD Meadows 11. Then you can also find Nate at Grizz Homer on. Are you going to change that? Keep it.
TBD. I'm a little attached at this point.
I like
shows
it.
my bias.
Don't change it. I'm at Daniel Greer, but you can follow the show at Grizz 901 Podcast. But that's all we have. Be nice and tell your friends.